Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Bill Marianes from Stewardship Calling and Ancient Faith Radio with the entire Ancient Faith Radio leadership and team over here. We are in Los Angeles at St. Sophia Cathedral at the annual meeting of the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops. And I am incredibly excited about the next interview. The newest hierarch within the Assembly of Bishops, Bishop Constantine. And it'll be really hard, and so I'm going to ask for your forgiveness in advance because I have known him forever as Father Constantine. So if I don't show the appropriate respect, then you'll just please forgive me for that.
Not a problem.
But Bishop Constantine is the Auxiliary Bishop, the newest bishop in the Assembly of Bishops, and he's assigned to the Greek Orthodox Metropolis of Denver. But he comes to that snowy capital of Denver, Colorado, from having spent how long in Baltimore?
A lifetime. I was baptized at the cathedral in Baltimore, but served there for 26 years as their priest and 28 years total ministry to the cathedral.
So he is inexorably identified with the cathedral in Baltimore. And it was such a joy for, we've known each other in other contexts, we'll get to that in a second, but when my daughter went up to do her PhD at Johns Hopkins, and I said, which Greek Orthodox church should we go to? And of course, there's several of them. They said, no, you gotta go to the cathedral, and you were just such an integral part of that community. Before we get to the good part, how hard has it been for you and how hard has it been for them to kind of step away for a while after such an incredible ministry there?
From the cathedral, it's been difficult. So It was a lifetime that I have spent there, going from the font to the throne, as someone described to me.
That's a great way to say it.
Has been something that's also very beautiful. It seemed almost natural at one point, as another person has described to me as well. The cathedral in Baltimore is in a city that's broken. So Baltimore is one of the toughest cities in America.
Unbelievable.
One of the highest crime cities in America, but we're very proud of what was accomplished in Baltimore. Very good attendance, active youth, a number of programs that took place.
Great ministries.
And beautiful ministries of outreach to the community. We had made a decision years ago not just to keep everything within the four walls of the church, but to expand out. And we fed a number of homeless children, other children, with weekend backpacks for kids.
Yeah.
And it was an outreach program that our people embraced and still do. We have given tons, literally tons of food to be able to help to feed these young children in the inner city that are faceless and nameless to us, but are our children as well. And we figured we knew that was something important for us to be able to do. The other aspect, because of Baltimore being a place that was alcohol-ridden, drug-ridden, is the beginning of an AA program within the cathedral, but opened up to the entire city and has now become the largest one attended in Baltimore City.
Is it really? I remember the importance of having that ministry at your church facility there.
Right, so that was one of them. The other was Al-Anon, for families to be able to go to have another person to share their stories with. So both of which have just blossomed, have become such just a part of the community, and very respected more than anything. And that speaks volumes about those people in Baltimore as to what they were ready to do. The interesting part was when we began the program, there was no one who objected to it.
Really?
Yeah, so that's
special, because that doesn't always happen across the orthosphere.
People understood the importance of it. They knew what needed to take place and to happen. And in fact, we had no idea about this, but the ladies were making cookies because they figured they were having coffee and meetings and everything else, and they wanted to supply everything. But part of the outreach of AA and Al-Anon was they have to supply their own things. So It was a tough lesson for our people not to offer philoxenia.
Yeah.
Other than opening the doors, having the lights on, and meeting space always available for them.
Right. And when you say because if you've never been to Baltimore, it really is, that cathedral is right in the town. I mean, it's right in the center of it, and a lot of places have thought about moving away and leaving behind their kind of home people and the people that need them. But y'all have stayed true to that mission back there in that time.
Yeah, so we decided years ago to remain there and to be a beacon of hope and witness to our city of Baltimore. It's remained there. We purchased the property, if you will, back in the 1940s, but the church has been established since 1906.
Okay.
So we've had just a very strong presence within there and anchor the community, if you will, and a very strong presence that really is needed.
And this is an inspiration for all of the parishes that are out there that are listening and watching and may see the videos of this later on, of how you can be present in your community, how you can make a difference in your community. I mean, one of the questions I always ask parishes when I'm helping with strategic plan about their brand, as I said, if you're ceased to exist, would anybody in the community notice? In other words, are you making an impact? And your cathedral certainly had.
We had to be known for more than just a festival.
Right.
We had to have the doors open, in which we made that conscious decision to do. And we continue to do that, and just to be there for people.
Right. Okay, so now we go from a lifetime for most people embedded as deeply as one can be in an incredible community, and now you have an entirely different ministry with an entirely different objective. As a bishop, and as a bishop that's traveling in the metropolis of Denver, every time I check your Facebook page, you are in a different city. I mean, how many miles have you logged, or how many trips have you logged, or what's been going on there?
So I began the ministry there with the blessings of His Eminence Archbishop Epiphanius and His Eminence Metropolitan Isaiah of Denver. And I was consecrated as bishop October the 15th at the cathedral in Manhattan, and then painfully left Baltimore and began my ministry the 1st of November. Driving cross country, my mind was going everywhere, but as soon as we entered, if you will, into the walls of the diocese of the Metropolis of Denver, I immediately felt at home, welcomed very quickly, very lovingly. And in fact, I've been able to travel, as you said, throughout the entire metropolis from north to south. It spans, there's about 55 parishes. We have 48 that are very active. I've traveled Texas, I'll be heading to New Mexico this coming weekend.
Okay.
I've gone to most of the parishes in Colorado. Weather is a difficult thing right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got a different weather challenge you have to manage.
So it seems it snows every day. People in Denver have told me very clearly the weather is not always like this. Others have told me that this is an anomaly that has taken place. It is not always this cold. And in fact, when the snow comes, it melts immediately. It has not been the case this year. Unfortunately, this East Coast boy has been to blame for all of this.
I was going to say, are they attributing that to your presence?
They
now?
are, but I've also texted those back there and said, I've been in Los Angeles now for the 4th day, and his minus 5 degrees in Denver, so I'm not to blame for any of this.
There you go. You haven't brought the minus 5 degrees here to LA.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But it has been a wonderful and a beautiful and a fulfilling experience to be able to meet people that I've never would imagine I would meet before. I never thought that I would spend Christmas Eve in Baird, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And
most people wouldn't even be able to tell you where Baird, Nebraska is on the map, right?
And in fact, Baird was one of the sweetest communities. In fact, all of them are beautiful, but just a sweet community. They don't have a full-time priest. We're able to send a priest from the metropolis every weekend, every other weekend on a Saturday to serve, and depending what's available and everything else.
So they must have really appreciated your visit.
Absolutely, and just very welcoming. But they've kept that community alive with a Sunday school, with youth programs that are going on, choir practice, Bible studies.
Oh, wow.
And it amazed me to see the faith of those people to keep a church as a church. Mm-hmm. And it was the best Christmas present I ever could have received, to be able to witness and to see that.
That is incredible.
So it's been a joy to be able to travel throughout the metropolis and to see so many different things, different cultures, if you will. Spending Epiphany in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yeah.
In fact, that morning I'd sent a message to the Archbishop and said, "You'll be throwing the cross on one side of the Gulf, and I'll be
picking it up on the other end.
I'll be throwing it on the other side of the Gulf." So it was. Everything has been very fulfilling and very welcoming, and it's been a beautiful experience working with we have exceptional clergy that I've met.
Yes, you do.
Deacons that have been working very diligently, and just a tremendous amount of lay people that are just ready to continue to do the work of the metropolis and the work of the church.
Do you have any sense about how many parishes of the 55 you've actually gotten a chance to lay in?
So the calculation is at 26 right now. So just moving along as much as I can. If there's a parish if there's a city that has 2 parishes, I try to cover both of those parishes in the weekend, just to make an initial visitation right now, and then eventually to start having a regular schedule of visitations.
But that's a blitzkrieg to do 26 parishes in the short period of time that you've been in the position you've been.
So His Eminence Metropolitan Isaiah has given me his blessings to travel as much as I can and wherever I can. And in fact, every time before I leave, he looks at my suitcases, and we kind of calculate together about the visitations and everything else, and just God bless you, Pedimo, and safe travels, and I see you when you come back. And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, he's got that great leadership style. I mean, that military experience taught him some great leadership techniques and whatnot. All right, so what are the biggest observations, not getting personal and stuff like that, what are some of the biggest observations you've had being exposed to a wide geography? I mean, the geography of the metropolis of Denver is quite huge and very diverse parishes. What are some of the things you've observed?
It is land waiting to be tilled.
Really?
It is land waiting to be tilled. There's a number of cities that I've been able to travel through and see that it may be small and sparse and have maybe one church. And orthodoxy to them is something that is very foreign.
Pun
ununderstandable.
intended in some cases,
Absolutely,
right?
but also ununderstandable and not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And a number of questions. We have a number of very good priests who offer just an exceptional outreach to the communities. And it's happening in every state in which we have. And that's been the witness to be able to see. One parish in Loveland, Colorado, I believe has 50 baptisms that are coming up.
Yeah, Father Evan is just
on Holy Saturday. On
it's
one
like,
day.
It's like queuing them out the door, calling out the door of the church.
Yeah, so we can't just focus just on numbers and anything like that, but these are faithful that are very dedicated.
Yeah.
When I went to visit that parish for their feast day of St. Spiridon, meeting them one by one and hearing their story just speaks volumes about the witness of the Orthodox Church and where it is right now.
Right. So you really think this really is even though it was a land of opportunity, as we move from the east to the west, you think it's a land of opportunity again for Orthodoxy?
You know, as our faithful people were there mining and everything else, it's time to get that soil going and to start mining for these people that are just waiting for the faith to be taught to them.
Okay, so what's your plan to do that? I mean, that sounds like a great vision. That's the kind of vision that can excite a lot of people.
So right now,
how do we get that done?
Right now, it's a matter of training our clergy, training our parishioners, training those in leadership positions, and being the ones who are not afraid to share the good news of Christ. We can't be ashamed to make the sign of the cross at a meal. We can't be ashamed at any experience to share the good news of Jesus Christ. And in many of these places, they're sharing just beautiful messages of Christ.
Well, there's the Gallup organization has been studying religiosity, I love that term, in the United States for about 70 years. And they have a 70-part matrix that they do, and then they color code the states based on the degree of religiosity on all of these characteristics. And sure enough, as we find, as you start to move into the region that you're now in, and that whole middle section over there, kind of part of the flyover states, the level of religiosity has declined from certainly the southeast that we'll get to in a second. And therefore, it's validating, I think, your idea of being a beautiful mission field.
Right. So a lot of these polls and everything can come up with anything, and they can say whatever they want to say. But in my observation and my belief, if we're not going to roll up our sleeves ourselves, we need to change how things are going to be taken and how things are going to run. So we have all these opportunities to do. It is a line that is waiting to be woken up right now and ready to be able to do good things.
And what's great is you sound like you have the energy to do it now. You're not shying away from this fight. You're like, put me in the game,
Yeah,
Coach.
I'm ready. No, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. My suitcases are packed, and off I go to the next destination. So we span over 3 different time zones.
You have all 3 time zones?
We have 3. So we have Central, we have Mountain, and we have 2 parishes that are on the Pacific.
Oh, so you really have to have one of those watches that automatically changes.
Well, I don't, because it's one of the gifts my parents gave me, so I treasure this.
Oh no,
So I wear this all the time. So,
all right, that's okay. So we'll have to keep track of that in that regard. It's that you've got time zones to manage. I joke with Metropolitan Gregory, who we're going to interview, that he has churches that are old calendar, new calendar. He has calendars to manage. You just have time zones to manage. Okay.
Right.
Now, one of the other things that makes you incredibly special and chosen by God for this mission is that you have roots in the beautiful South, in a great city called Mobile, Alabama.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about Mobile, Alabama, which I know is not your metropolis anymore. It's the metropolis of Atlanta. But talk about the great family that you have in Mobile and the love that they have and respect they have for you.
So my mother, blessed memory, was born in Mobile, Alabama. My parents met in Mobile. My dad was in the Air Force at Keesler Air Force Base. He received a note from his mother, my grandmother, to go to church on Good Friday. Traveled down Highway 90 to go to Mobile, to the church. Met my mother. She was in the choir loft. And from there, my grandfather, who was the chanter, came down from the chanter stand and said, "Young man, if you can, come to and join us for dinner on Pascha." And my dad was able. My grandfather had an idea about something and had my mother wait on my dad hand and foot, and they knew that it was love at first sight because my father was not afraid to eat the margherita that was served. But it was not the kind that we're familiar with, but the old-fashioned kind where anything was just kind of dropped in the pot. And
All kind of, for those of you who are not familiar with that, it's kind of like lamb insides, and it smells.
Yeah, it's.
Some people think pungently, some people think horribly. So I'll leave it to everyone's choice.
Another thing is delicious, palate. So we just leave it alone at that.
Do you like margarita?
I don't. I'm not a big. And so they married in 1954 on the 17th of October in Mobile, Alabama, and moved immediately to Baltimore. My brother now resides there with his family. So I have my brother, my sister-in-law,
nieces, nephews,
2 nieces, 1 great niece, and 2 great nephews.
Well, you need to know, because I hear from those folks, because we do a lot of stuff with them, that Mobile still considers you their favorite son. They still
Absolutely.
consider you their son. So this Baltimore thing, maybe the folks in Baltimore, believe in you, but
It's odd
Mobile's,
enough that that parish is Annunciation. The parish I came from is Annunciation. My sister's parish is Annunciation in Fort Myers, Florida. So we all come from
I think this
parish of
is
Annunciation.
this.
So I'll be in Mobile the 10th of March for that weekend.
Okay, all right,
So I want to
perfect.
go to my second home and visit family
Yeah.
there, see my brother and my family and
Now,
everybody
will
else.
this be the first time you're back as a bishop? Or?
It'll be, yes.
Oh, that's going to be special.
Yeah, so
for
the
them.
parish in Mobile was very supportive of my election.
Yeah.
Was very gracious, purchased vestments and,
Oh.
and everything else for me,
Yeah.
which was just a beautiful experience as their own son, if you will.
That's going to be a big welcome home party.
Absolutely.
You need to clear your palate there. There's going to be a big spread. Now, you had an opportunity to participate in this incredible pan-Orthodox divine liturgy that happened, here in this church. What were some of your observations now as a hierarch? I know you've done this many times as a priest, but what was different about it as a hierarch?
So as the youngest one now, and witnessing all of these things, it was overwhelming, if you will, kind of vesting first with all the hierarchs, saying the prayers together for the vesting, and then processing inside of the Church of St. Sava yesterday to be able to see and to witness all of those things. Just looking around and seeing things and hearing, the liturgy is timeless. There's no question. No matter what the language is, it's always
Right.
going to be the same thing. It's just timeless and beautiful by all means. But as far as my own observation, no matter where we are, the liturgy is going to be the same, but
Yeah.
it can't be redundant if we let it.
Yeah.
So there were so many different nuances to it that just were very beautiful, attractive, if you will, and very understanding as to what faith is what faith is about.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point that you make, and certainly from a pan-Orthodox perspective, that one of the blessings is it doesn't matter what jurisdiction's church you walk into. Yes, there may be some different languages spoken and some different hymns a different way, a different, tonal quality, but the liturgy is the same liturgy, and that's got to be really comforting in that
Absolutely.
regard. Yeah, and long processions, and now you're at the end of the procession. So you went from the proestamino of a big cathedral and very well regarded, where you were, and now you have to stand at the end of the line. That's got to be interesting.
It's all a blessing.
It's
It's
gotta
all
be
a blessing. It's all been fine and beautiful, and I'm grateful. The bishops who have been there, the hierarchs who have been there, have all been very supportive, helpful, if you will,
Yeah.
with things too, which has been very, very kind more than anything.
I heard a couple of the hierarchs talking about how they're glad there's now somebody lower on the totem pole and stuff like that. Now, you are a tall human being, right? You have some height behind you.
I do.
And if you don't want to tell the story, you don't have to tell the story. But God bless him, and he's an amazing, amazing hierarch. Metropolitan Isaiah is not as tall as you are. So, have there been any issues where you've had to deal with a height differential between the hierarchs of the Metropolis of Denver there?
Yeah. So one of the thrones that I presided from the liturgy from, I misjudged the height of the throne, and went to ascend to the throne, if you will,
Yeah.
and did not realize how much lower the top of it was and hit the top of my crown.
And you have a crown now that's bigger than what you're normally used to.
Yeah, so it hit the top of that. Didn't fall off or anything
Okay.
like that.
So there's no scandal there. There was
no. I felt a definite thud and just kind of walked forward and just continued from there. People kind of realized what was happening. People were not joking; they were respectful about it.
Yeah.
But they were also saying, "All right, he's young. We need to jack this up a little bit."
That's right. So next time you go, I expect to see some Grecian columns or something like that installed in there. But
all these parishes have been. It's just been
Yeah.
a beautiful experience. It's sweet more than anything just to see that.
Well, and to have a hierarch take the time, particularly in the rapid schedule that you're on, and visit and spend time with them. And I know you, and I know how personable you are, and I know how engaging you are with people. And so that's got to be really special.
So these are not in and out visits, so it might just be for one day, but I try to spend as much time as I can with everybody and to listen and to visit and everything else.
Okay, so one last question, because now I'm interrupting you from having lunch. And the
Fine,
last
don't
thing you
worry.
ever do is keep anybody, let alone a hierarch, from having lunch. So if there was something that the faithful can do to help you in your ministry, to help the church in its ministry, to expand what we need to do, what advice would you give the faithful? What is it that we need to be thinking about now?
So first of all, support your parish priest, support your hierarch, and support each other. We're not that big of a church to have so much infighting and divisions and everything else. We're just not that big.
Right.
And it kind of speaks against what the mission of the church is
Right.
about.
Right. That's the key part there. Is
Right.
It's so integral to what we do as a
Right.
church.
So that's the biggest part. The second is, if you have these really beautiful ideas and everything else, don't be afraid to present it to your priest and be ready to execute it.
Mhm.
You know, so many times, when I served as a parish priest, they would come with these phenomenal ideas, and I said, "Good, you're in charge of it." "Oh no, I can't do that."
Yeah.
Well, who is? And
Right.
can you help me find the person to be able to do that? So we just can't be the Monday morning quarterbacks, kind of ready to face off and to see what's going on. We've got to be ready to roll up our sleeves for everything and to come up with some nice creative ideas to bring our people closer to Christ.
And you've done such a great job of that in Baltimore, and I know now in the parishes here. So I also want to let people know that you have a great sense of humor, and so they cannot be intimidated by your bishop's demeanor and the accoutrement that you wear now. You have a great sense of humor. So I hope you don't mind, but I'm gonna share one of the greatest lines that's happened at an Assembly of Bishops meeting ever. Was as we were getting back on the bus after the Divine Liturgy, the spectacular Divine Liturgy at St. Sava, and the beautiful event that they had in the celebration there that was just wonderful. The Director of Operations for the Assembly of Bishops, formerly Nick Anton, now Deacon Nick Anton, finally came on and he had his deacon vestments, and you so humorously said, "Nick left the bus as a layman and came back as a deacon." And I'm thinking, what a great celebration that is, and what a great capstone that was. And it made him smile, because I know he was feeling a lot of pressure and tension with everything going on. But you brought a joy to all of us, but you all brought a special joy to Deacon Nick.
We have to laugh. There has to be a day with laughter. There has to be time for laughter for everything too. So
well, keep
it's
up that
important.
great spirit. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to meet the newest bishop in the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops. I got to say it again, Bishop Constantine. All right, I've got to get that title right over here. But if you have an opportunity to meet him, if you have an opportunity to welcome to your community, if you have an opportunity to engage with them, trust me, you'll be richly blessed by that. So I want to thank you for taking time. I want to invite you to join me for lunch over there as we go downstairs and have to eat before the next sessions. I want to thank the wonderful team from Ancient Faith Radio that's making all of this possible over here. I'm looking at the Maddox family across the table, speaking of a family over here that's
Beautiful.
dedicated to this incredible ministry. And I want to thank all of you who are watching and tuning in, or who may be watching this a little bit later on, as we have a unique opportunity to share insights from all of our hierarchs within the Orthodox Church, who are working so diligently to bring people closer to Christ and each other. Thank you so much, and we'll be with you later on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Absolutely.
All right.